Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Retronaut video. So what we're looking at today is another event. This was brought to my attention a few months ago, and up until now I've only actually attended events quite local to where I live. Well, to a degree anyway. I've actually gone to one in Chipping Sodbury, which is about an hour's drive away. But this one would actually require for me to drive quite a lot further to near Birmingham, which is about a 2-hour drive from where I live. So this event is called Zzap Live, and it's actually organised by a company called Fusion Retro Books. I'm not sure if you're aware of those. I'll actually show you something that they've done here. So they actually produce a new magazine, which is called, as you can see here, Zzap Amiga. And I'm not sure if you're aware of the magazine back in the day called Zzap 64, and I think later it was Zzap Amiga. Not sure if they I think they did change the name at some point, obviously, when the Amiga became more dominant. But it was a classic, sort of, I would call it a second generation of video gaming magazine from back in the mid-80s. Zzap, I think, originally started in about 1985. And there were magazines before that, famously Computer and Video Games, which I think we'll actually be looking at in a video pretty soon. But it took a few years for the sort of microcomputer gaming scene to really get ahead of steam together. And it really took off, especially when you had the magazine Crash, which was for the Spectrum. And then from the same publisher, very soon after, you had Zzap. Anyway, Fusion Retro Books don't really have anything to do with that original publication, but they do model themselves on it. And they actually organized the event to be in a town called Kenilworth. So yeah, so I thought it was pretty interesting, and I thought, you know, I would kind of head along there. So Kenilworth is a medium to small town, I would say. It's relatively close to another town called Warwick, which is probably more widely known of. And it's also quite close to Coventry as well. The event was actually held in the town's Holiday Inn Hotel, which is right in the center of the town. And it's actually very conveniently placed near some restaurants and bars. So it's actually a pretty good location actually to have an event. So the event promised a number of things, and I'll go over these now and we'll see how it delivered on those things. It said there were going to be over 60 Commodore computer systems to play on. And these systems would span the full history of Commodore, going from the PETs and the VIC-20s all the way through to the Amiga 3000 and 4000. There would be a fusion zone, don't know why it's called that, but anyway, a fusion zone where non-Commodore systems would be available. And we're talking about things such as the Vectrex console, which was a vector-based console from the early 80s. And then you're talking about going all the way through to things like the original PlayStation, Mega Drives, and things like that. They would also have a number of arcade games there, which was pretty cool. And they also promised 1 or 2 LCD-based pinball tables. So no real pinball tables, I guess they're pretty heavy, but they did say they would have a couple of LCD-based ones there. The venue also had a dedicated room for question and answer for talks, discussions, quizzes, and things like that. And they had a number of those scheduled for the day. I won't be able to show those in this video because they're obviously filmed by Zzap Live themselves, and obviously those will then be distributed by them. Unfortunately, during the event, I actually missed most of those anyway, as I was probably basically too busy filming this video. So there we go. They said that there were going to be a number of industry veterans in attendance of the show, including Jeff Minter and his business partner, Giles. They both work for a company called Llamasoft. And if you're one of our US viewers, you may not know, but Jeff Minter was a game developer, a lone game developer, an indie game developer from the early 80s. And he produced a number of classic games started on the VIC-20, then moved on to Commodore 64. And he must have also, I assume, worked on the Atari 8-bit machines as well. Jeff has a very particular style of gaming, very often featuring woolly animals, which is a funny feature of his games, sheep and llamas and things like that, hence the name of his company, Llamasoft. And yeah, he kind of defined the sort of indie spirit of game development back in the early 80s. So it was really good to see that he was at the show and still going strong, by the way. Also, there was Andrew Braybrook, and he was the developer of a number of hit titles back on especially the Commodore 64. And he would be there with Steve Turner, and they were both members of a company called Graphgold, which was a contemporary of, for instance, the Bitmap Brothers. They started in the Commodore 64 days, I believe, and then they did actually carry on producing games in the Amiga era as well. John Hare and Stu Cambridge will be there from Sensible Software, and obviously they produced a number of hit games on the Amiga, you know, Sensible Soccer, Cannon Fodder, and so on. So yeah, really good to see the Sensible guys will be there. Also Simon Butler and Paul Hughes, apparently who were Ocean developers. Ocean being a British video game developer, very big on the Amiga, the Commodore 64 in particular. And also Andy Davidon, who developed Worms on the Amiga. And another big name at the show was Rob Hubbard, who was absolutely massive video game music producer, especially on the Commodore 64. But he was a very talented musician back in the day at getting the best out of those 8-bit sounds, especially on the Amiga, where he did absolute wonders. There's going to be a raffle, and apparently this would offer a number of prizes. So the top prize was a cocktail cabinet, which was donated to the event by Classic Arcade Games. The second prize, I think, was going to be an A600 GS, which was a new Amiga 600-based sort of console, which was actually developed by and donated to the show by Amiga Kit. And there were a number of other items as well. And on the schedule, there would be a sort of free form during the day with a number of talks. And then around 7 p.m., there would be a special showing of a new documentary on Jeff Minter's life, which is called Heart of Neon. And this refers to Jeff's love of bright colors in his games, especially in the early 90s, where he really pushed the Jaguar to produce reworks of some sort of early Atari games. And these games were incredibly colorful. So yeah, that's why they've branded it the Heart of Neon. Now, this actually went on to turn out to be quite a long documentary, actually, 1.5 hours long, 1.5 hours. Quite a substantial documentary. And I've got to say, yeah, we'll talk about it a bit later in this video, but definitely worth attending the event just for that documentary, really. It was actually really cool. Then after this showing, there would be a meeting with Jeff and his fellow Llamasoft developer, Giles, and they would have a discussion with the documentary's filmmaker, and they would have a quick discussion about some of the things that were brought up in that documentary. And then the floor would be opened and there would be a question and answer session for both Jeff and Giles. And then when that finished, there was meant to be a demonstration of one of Jeff Minter's pet projects, which is a light synth, which today you might recognize as a sort of musical visualization system. And you might wonder, what's the difference? Well, as far as Jeff is concerned, a light synth is a musical visualization system which actually allows you to control the system. So he actually developed a light synth which could actually have 4 people controlling how it actually presented, which meant it was meant to be more like a sort of musical instrument, in that you could actually play the light synth at the same time as the music, and it could actually react to the music. So yeah, that's been a passion of Jeff's his entire life. So that'd be interesting to have a sort of demonstration of how that worked. And that would be it for the day. So that was basically the plan. So I've got some artifacts from the event here, which I'll show you a little bit later, including this t-shirt, some of the bits and bobs I picked up, my name badge and so on. Yeah, I'll show you those a little bit later. But I think what we should do first is let's get on with the event itself, and let's dip in and see actually what happened on the day. So I've arrived at Warwick, or sorry, Kenilworth, I should say. It's near Warwick. It's not actually Warwick itself. Seems like a nice town, actually. Very cute. Lots of pine trees around the hotel. That's the entrance to the hotel there. I'm just going to go into the reception and find out what gives. I would imagine you have to get your identity cards, right? Get that on, go in, see what's going on there, and yeah, see what's going on with Zzap live. There's Rob Smith, he's in the queue over there. I'm just going to go in and have a look inside, see what's going on in queue. I've actually got my ticket now. I arrived earlier, and then it was a bit of a panic because I got my phone out, which I thought would have my, the email for the event with the ticket on it, and it didn't. And I turned up in front of the desk, and I thought they may have thought I was being a little bit pretentious, expecting to just walk in. But luckily, I did actually bring my laptop with me, so it's actually in my car. So anyway, enough of my bemoaning my lack of organisation. This is the event. It's pretty busy. I actually thought this was Dropzone, but it doesn't seem to be a Dropzone. It doesn't seem to be working either. Frogger, currently not looking like it's working. Outrun, Track and Field. Good to see some nice games there. There's Dave Pleasance on his stall. What's he got there? Back to the 90s. That's a nice sign. Okay, let's have a look around. In here, seems to be a quiet area. What you might call a bit of a break. Oh no, it's the canteen, actually. So this is the canteen. Good place to go and have a break and have some food later, maybe. And you've got a pet, which is something I haven't actually seen since the 70s. Or was it the 80s? Actually, maybe the 90s, yeah. When I was in college, they still had pets for some reason. Over here, they've got Astro Fighter. Not sure I've seen that arcade game for a while. And you've got lots of little mini arcade machines here. 10-ups, I think they're called. Are they 10-ups? Not quite sure. They've got a little mini arcade here. Right next to some coffee machines. And then you've got a couple of the mini pinball tables and a mini Star Wars. Actually, that looks pretty good. I'm quite surprised by that. I'm guessing that's not a real one because of the size. Always a big fan of the Star Wars machine. Love the Vector display on it. So let's have a look around a little bit more. And not quite sure what's going on here. A600 GS, some merch going on there. And somebody's actually got an 800 XL, which is interesting to see. So you know we did a video on the 800 XL recently. Empire Strikes Back, a game I don't remember seeing back in the day. This Pac-Man. And a lot of the stuff is actually set up in a corridor. Got some PlayStation consoles here. Not sure which iteration these are. PlayStation 2 maybe. Then the original PlayStation. That's the original PlayStation there. Xbox. And over here you've got a PlayStation Mini, Nintendo 64, the Vectrex. And it looks like Jeff Minter's having a bit of a zuzz about on the Vectrex there. See if we can see Jeff's face a bit. It's good to see he's still playing the games like he ever did. Good job, good old Jeff. Somebody's brought their Commodore 64 and it seems to have shrunken really badly. Hopefully they can get that repaired at some point. And we've got a Master System. A very interesting monitor, actually.
Does that include?
Yeah, these monitors are really funky, aren't they? Really interesting. Philips. And you've got a Sega Master System there. Surprisingly large amount of systems here. I didn't think it would be quite so generic, the show. I thought it was very much Commodore based, but I guess, as I said, they have a lot of different systems here, which is really cool to see. I'm actually quite a big fan of the fact that there's a lot of diversity, and we should be, celebrating that diversity rather than maybe just focusing too much on one particular machine. Some Xboxes here, another N64, another PlayStation. And in here, looks like we've got a kind of sale room. So what I might do, actually, is have a look around in here, see if there's anything that's interesting. And if there is, then I may actually make some purchases. So let's see what we've got here.
And before we continue on with the show, let's have a quick word from our sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay, where you can make your tech dreams a reality. And it's hard to believe, but PCBWay has been with us now for 10 years with an ever-expanding range of services to meet your needs. A personal favourite of mine is their PCB project service. Just pick a project, including gems such as the Sidekick 64, and PCBWay can do the rest, delivering just the PCBs or the fully assembled boards straight to your door. The choice is yours. PCBWay really is a one-stop solution because whether it's PCB prototyping, PCB assembly, 3D printing, or even CNC machining, PCBWay is the way. Starting with an instant quote for your PCB projects, PCBWay will leap into action, building your PCB, assembling it for you if you wish, and once it's passed their quality tests, it'll be winging its way to you in a flash. PCBWay, PCB prototyping the easy way.
I've gone out the back entrance because it's just so busy in there right now. It's insane. It's hardly any room to walk, really. The back of the person you can see here is Stoo Cambridge. He of Sensible Software fame, a great bitmap artist, and actually still working in bitmaps, which is really great. He's actually producing bitmap artwork today, showing it off. If I can get a view. There you go. So you can see he's got prints of the bitmap art that he's done. And he's just explaining what he's actually doing here to one of his punters. Well, looks it. I'll have to make a point of coming back to the store and talk to Stoo later. Must be an interesting person. Looks like Immortal Joysticks are making a big push. This is really interesting. Really nice looking joystick there. And I'm not sure what this is. Rogue Declan. Looks like it's a new game for the CD32. Well, I suppose AGA Amigas, right? So I'll have to do a little bit of research into that and see what's going on there. And yeah, okay, let's see if we can push on inside. Nice seagull.
Kekanoid, I think that's a new retro game as well. That looks pretty interesting. And again, they've got a custom joystick to actually match up with that too. And behind you can see all the Immortal joystick boxes. I don't actually know if there's anything in those or if they were there just as a display. So here I'm having a quick chat, I think, with the owner of the company. And yeah, we were just discussing whether it might be possible to actually get that review that I was talking about.
Some nice retro themed mugs there. Oh yeah, Thing on a Spring. There's Thing on a Spring. Long time since I've seen him. That's pretty much the only one I recognise. Oh no, yeah, there's Monty Mole as well. Yeah, and Percy Pigeon. Zool. There's some cool retro swag there. Looks like the stall is Retro Bits. This stall, I think, is actually selling what looks to be, well, there are some retro-themed posters, like there's a Jeff Minter poster there. But it looks like they're also selling soundtracks to different games, maybe, and also some other posters. I'm not quite sure what these are. Maybe I'll come and have a chat later and see what they are. But for now, we'll just keep on doing a sweep around the entire floor. Over here, there's a little bit of a shrine. It's actually Archer MacLean's development machine, which he used to develop the 64 version of Dropzone, not the original version on the Atari 800. Right now, it's being swarmed a bit, so I can't really get to it. So I'll try and show you the machine. This looks like it's a modern version of Dropzone. So you may know of a guy called Archer MacLean, and unfortunately he passed away a few years ago now. There's Archer, and he was an absolute animal in terms of gaming. I think he had a massive arcade game collection, and of course he wrote Dropzone, which was inspired by Defender, which was, yeah, one of the hardest games back in the day. This looks like it's a modern version of it. It actually looks pretty cool. And what they've actually got here is the machine that he developed the Commodore 64 version of Defender on, which is actually really cool. I mean, it's grubby as hell and yellowed. Obviously, it hasn't been used in a very long time, but it's really cool that they've actually got that here today so people can remember Archer and the fantastic work that he did. Yeah, I used to love his stuff. He did also snooker games as well, Jimmy White's snooker and various other games. Very talented programmer, and yeah, obviously missed in the community. And over here, just behind the Dropzone banner, we can see Rob Hubbard is actually signing some books. Looks like they've sold out. There's a happy man. All of his books have sold, and he's just signing a lasso. Really nice to see Rob here. Wrote some amazing music on the C64. Fantastic stuff. Loved his music. Okay, so in this area there are rows of Commodore 64s, Commodore 128s, with various software running on them. And they're just free and open for you to go and sit down and have a game. Looks like there's a couple over here which have crashed maybe. But yeah, there's various games running on there. What's that? Looks like Thunder, what's it called? The helicopter series? Yeah, a bit of a tie-in there, I think. And this looks like it's Commando, Commodore 64 version of Commando. And over here you've got some more C64s, the later revisions with Barbarian. It's nice to see Barbarian running. And also you've got, what's it called? Trailblazer? This table has some sort of retro themed stuff. You've got some Amiga magazines here, which I've actually been going through recently. I've been actually reading a lot of old magazines to sort of buff up a little bit on the sort of retro history. We've also got some Rubik's Cubes here and some old games for sale, looks like. And yeah, over there behind them, some more Commodore 64s. A couple of VIC-20s here, looking very yellow, as is often the case with these machines. Yeah, yellowing is a big problem. I'd love to get those in the rejuvenator, give them some rejuvenation, get them nice and white again. I think they were a little bit like an off-white back in the day. They always were a little bit yellowy. But yeah, over time that's become incredibly accentuated, you know. Over here you've got the SX64, which is the portable version of the Commodore 64. Here's a machine I've never actually seen in the flesh. It's Commodore 64 SX, I think. Can't see any markers on it that actually say that, but what else could it be? Yeah, this is a portable Commodore 64. To be honest, the original Commodore 64 was actually more portable, except, of course, it doesn't have the built-in monitor that you can see here. Actually, surprisingly good quality. Perfectly legible. Yeah, I'm amazed. On the right-hand side, you can see there's a 5¼ inch disk drive, and above there's a bay here, which I thought was actually where another drive would go, but it actually says that it's for storage. I don't know if you can see that there, it actually says storage. So it looks like it was never intended to be a dual drive machine. And then here, if I be a little bit cheeky, there's a kind of flap, and there's some adjustments in there by the looks of it. So yeah, really interested to actually see one of these guys. Not sure if I'd ever actually want to own one in my collection, but you know, I've only got enough space, that's the only reason why. But yeah, fantastic machine. Good to see one in the flesh. Let's have a look around a little bit more. There's a raffle here, which I've actually put in for. I've got 2 strips of tickets, and the first prize is actually this arcade machine, which I'm not sure I would know what to do with if I did win it. But anyway, chance would be a good thing, wouldn't it? So I think what I'll do is I'll cross my fingers and hope that I get I've got the golden ticket. Second prize is, there says here, an A600 GS Amiga Kit, and then you've got a signed Commodore 64. I wouldn't mind the signed Commodore 64, to be honest. That'd be pretty cool if it was signed by, say, Jeff Minter and Andrew Braybrook. Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. Then in this area, you've got some more machines. What's quite nice, actually, is they've actually got some other computers here, not just the Commodore-based ones. Some more Commodore 64s there. The mushroomy coloured one here. I'm not quite sure which revision that is, when it went that kind of colour scheme. Maybe it's a custom one, handmade. Then over here, you've got an Aquarius. And you've also got a VCS, an Atari VCS with a demo on it, which actually looks pretty interesting. And then next to it, you've got a video pack computer, which I must admit doesn't ring that much of a bell. I remember the name, but I don't remember the machine that much. And then right next to it, let me just take this out of the way,
is the rather beautiful TI-99 4A. Very striking machine. I always thought that was a beautiful machine back in the day. One that absolutely passed me by. Never got anywhere near that one. But at some point I'll have to get around to doing a video about it maybe. And then over here you've got the MTX 512 Memotech machine. Which actually looks pretty good on screen there. Not bad. Sort of one of the early 8-bit machines, I guess. But yeah, looking pretty good there. Sam Coupe over there. And then next to it you've got the Enterprise, which reminds me very much of the Dragon 32 with this sort of graphics on it. Very limited palette, you know, like 4 colors. You've got the video pack. Then you've got an Amstrad, a very, very striking looking Spectrum there. Let me try and get in close on that. So that looks really amazing. Wow, what a cool machine. And then you've got a Neo Geo and a couple of the other Japanese consoles here.
And I've just noticed, just off the main entrance, there's actually a little side room. And just inside the door is one of my favorite games ever, Mr. Do. Fantastic game. Very underrated. Back in the day, this was something that I used to play in a fairground. They used to come and visit the town every Easter, I think it was, down the beach where I live, because I come from a seaside town. There's Jeff Minter again, having some chat with some fans, or some friends, I'm not quite sure. Another World, I think this is, isn't it? And some more Amigas laid out. Actually, Amigas have been pretty thin on the ground so far. Wow, this is an amazing looking one. Oh, that's fantastic, isn't it? And it's got a monster joystick with it as well. Very nice. An Amiga 4000 there. The ultimate in cheesiness, the Commodore adverts. This advert always makes me laugh. It's like 100% cheese with some cheese on top and some blue cheese drizzled over it. Yeah, some more Amigas. Difficult to get through, but they're all playing different games. It's a nice black Amiga there. So yeah, another little side room. Oh, look, my beloved Amiga 2000 over there in the corner. And the Bong Boil demo, which you don't see very often these days. Let's see if I can get over there and have a look at that. Ah, lonely ST look. Would have thought it, an ST at an Amiga show. But all machines welcome, I think. Definitely. Ah, the PC-10, Commodore PC-10, and the Amiga 2000. As I said, a beloved machine of mine. One of my favorite Amigas. And then the slightly more exotic Amiga 3000. Yeah, cool. Nice little room. So you remember earlier I stumbled into the canteen area? Well, I went back there a little bit later and I found Robert set up his floppy drive cleaning machine, which is, yeah, a little sparkling ray of radiance. Unfortunately, I had to turn the sound down here, otherwise I would get a copyright strike from YouTube because it's playing a car wash. And yeah, you probably have to see it in the flesh to see what a crazy little thing it is. So it's a little bit later in the day, and as you can see, everybody's settled down, and I guess it's after lunch because looks like now is the time of day when you sit down at a Commodore 64 and play some 8-bit games. Yeah, it's really nice to actually see people enjoying themselves. Early in the day, nobody wanted to sit there, but now, as you can see, now it's all kicking off in the gaming area. So I'm not quite sure what's going on here.
I managed to persuade Jeff Minter to do a Vectrex game last night over a pint.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to seduce him with a demo of Bad Apple on the Vectrex, basically.
Oh, okay.
Andrew Braybrook should be around later on to have a look. And basically, I said, people are doing your type of game on the Vectrex with Vector graphics, so you need to do it yourself.
Now, I'm not sure who this guy was, but he was definitely being a little bit hard sell on trying to get Jeff to do a game on the Vectrex. You know, you can take a yak to water, but you can't necessarily make it drink.
But anyway, Jeff seemed to be showing, some interest. At that point, it was a little bit surreal because Andrew Braybrook sidled up by the side of me and squeezed in between. And the same guy actually hassled him, about looking at the demo. Anyway, Andrew, dutifully watched the demo. So I asked him what he thought of the Vectrex, and we ended up having a bit of a conversation about the Vectrex and various other bits and bobs. And very kindly, he actually gave me an envelope which contained a photograph of his latest game, which I thought was pretty cool. I must say, Andrew seems like a really nice guy, very easy and approachable. And obviously, as the years have gone by, we've got more similar in age. Back when I was 12, he must have been a 20-year-old, but now, we're both grown men. So yeah, it was really nice to have a nice chat with Andrew. Like I said, a little bit surreal. At this point, I was feeling quite fatigued, and I really needed to have a bit of a rest, so I sloped away to my hotel room and had a little nap before then coming back a little bit later to attend the Jeff Minter Lifetime video. So we all filed into the room, and at this point I didn't really know what I was going to see. And it was a video about Jeff Minter, obviously. But it turns out it was actually quite an extensive documentary about his life, and I found it actually very impressive. Now, we can't show any of that footage in this video here because it's a commercial venture, and the video actually isn't complete anyway. It's not actually ready to view yet. So yeah, we sat down and we watched the video, and we were all asked to give feedback on it. And I must say, I was very impressed, and I'd very much recommend you watch Heart of Neon when it actually is released to the public. So once the showing was over, the film's producer actually sat down with Jeff and his partner Giles, and they answered some questions on various aspects of their lives, the work that they did, how they actually got into the industry, and so on and so forth. And that was quite interesting. And then after a while, the mic was passed around, and we were able to then ask questions directly to Jeff and Giles. And I found that really interesting. I think it was definitely one of the highlights of the event that we actually were able to interact with them. And it was just really nice to actually watch the video beforehand and get a really good insight into both of their lives, because, I tended to think of Jeff Minter as being a solo person, but he's actually worked with Giles for a number of years now. So it's interesting that they've got this partnership and they work so sort of symbiotically together on their new ventures. So yeah, I found that was pretty cool. Once the Q&A session was over, Jeff settled down on a sort of little DJ desk in front of the screen here, and proceeded to play some music and then show us exactly what the light synth can actually do. He's got this pretty cool idea that you can sort of drive the visuals by turning knobs and so on the sort of thing that you would see on a traditional synthesizer. I thought it was quite compelling, actually, and I really enjoyed it. It was quite mesmerizing on times, almost hypnotic. And I actually think this would be a really cool thing to see on something like an Apple Vision Pro in 3 dimensions, with the visualizations actually passing by you and around you. I think that would be really cool. But of course, right now, who owns an Apple Vision Pro, right? Absolutely nobody. But yeah, very interesting to see exactly what he felt a light synthesizer could be. But this was probably a slight shadow of actually what it can do, because he described in the video how he and 3 friends, 4 of them, would actually use wireless controllers to actually control an earlier iteration of the light synth. So it took 4 people to actually control it and make it perform along with the music. So yeah, interesting. One of Jeff's pet projects, the light synth, actually brought to life. And there we are, like a flash, the event was over. And if you've just survived the light synth that you just watched and you've not become hypnotized, you might be interested in some of the things that I picked up the show. There's always some kind of swag that we come back with, isn't there? Anyway, let's have a quick look at what I got, and I'll give you a quick summary of what I thought of the event as well. So the t-shirt. The t-shirt is actually something that I made. So before the event, I thought it'd be nice if I turned up there and I had a t-shirt that actually had Retronaut on it. So I had this made. This is one of those sort of, print shop t-shirts. So this won't last very long, actually. Once it's been washed a few times, unfortunately, this nice logo will disappear.
But I wore it to the event and it looked like absolutely nobody recognized me, which I find, I know it might sound strange, sort of oddly encouraging, because if nobody recognizes me at these events, and I've got a couple of thousand subscribers at this point, it means there are a very large number of subscribers out there still to be gathered. So yeah, that's quite good in a way. I mean, who wants to have all the subscribers in the world, right? You need a challenge. Oh yeah, this little card here. Tony Longworth, I guess he might be the guy who actually produced, if I hold that up to the camera, see if you can get the QR code there. I'm assuming that he might have been the guy who actually produced the Heart of Neon documentary. So yeah, check that out and see what you can find out about it. Like I said, I found it very engaging, very good. I'm not sure when it's going to be released, but hopefully if you can go to the page that links to, you'll find out something about it. This is actually a poster that I picked up at the event, and it's signed there by Jeff himself. I'm not such a massive fanboy that I would actually normally buy a poster like this, but the way I felt was that I'm not sure I ever actually bought one of his games back in the day. I played many of them, but I'm not sure I bought any. I might have actually bought Iridis Alpha. I did fancy that. I remember seeing that in Zzap 64. So I thought I'd show some support of Jeff by buying one of his posters. And I hope, you know, the majority of the money from this actually went to Jeff, but who knows. This is going to go in my man cave when that's actually ready. But for now, I'll put it into careful storage and yeah, it'll go on the wall once I've actually got somewhere to hang it. So yeah, Heart of Neon, and I've got the poster, which is pretty cool. At the event, and again, another flyer for the Heart of Neon video. At the event, I actually chatted to a guy who runs this channel, Retro Relics. And I actually asked him if he could give me a business card, but he didn't have any. So instead, he actually gave this to me so I could remember his channel name. And I had a really interesting chat with him. He repairs a lot of machines. We were discussing various machines we have. And interestingly, I was talking about a ZX81 workstation sort of enclosure that I saw advertising computer and video games. And I just found it was such a bizarre thing that you would put a ZX81 into this case with a monitor, and it would then act as if it were some kind of microcomputer. Not microcomputer, but a large sort of like PC-like machine. But there we are, somebody made it. And by complete coincidence, the guy at Retro Relics actually has one. In fact, he seems to have a huge amount of stuff. One of the things he had, for instance, was this what's it called? CompuCase 64D. And what that allowed you to do was actually put two disk drives together, which is actually very similar to the disk, the Duo disk for the, or is it Disk Duo for the Apple II, for the drives there, which I've actually got two of those, both of which I might have broken. But yeah, really nice to chat with him. I don't know his name actually, but I'll definitely be checking out his channel and see what he's got on there. What else did I get? Yeah, oh yeah, the design droid. So the design droid is actually Stoo Cambridge. So we did actually have a chat at the show. So if you want to scan that QR code there. Stoo's actually the guy who produced the bitmap images of Neil at RMC, and I think it's Control-Alt-Reese as well. I'm not sure if they got those for free, but I think he actually charges for these portraits, which, to be fair, is perfectly correct, right, of his work. And I think they're really charming, you know, the way he does those. So definitely check that out at Stoo Cambridge and maybe get yourself a pixel portrait done as well. I'll think about it for the future. Yeah, definitely very cool. So yeah, there was that. Fusion. Not sure what this is. Alan Hamilton, blah, blah, blah. Don't know. Don't know what that is, but I'll have to check out that. I think it's something to do, it's another magazine by the looks of it. That's my name badge. Nothing particularly interesting there. Yeah, this was really cool. So you remember the chat I had with Andrew Braybrook? Well, during that chat, I was discussing how in the past I'd actually written my own game. Yes, I've actually written a game. And I thought it was really, you know, it was quite a nice moment to actually have a chat with him about what it's like to be a developer, and we had a chat about things, and I said how hard it was to actually promote my game. You know, basically these days, it doesn't matter if your game's any good, really, especially on Steam. What matters is you've actually spent an absolute pile of money to promote it. If you don't promote your game, you know, we're talking about maybe thousands or tens of thousands of pounds. Nobody's going to know about it. Nobody will actually play it. Anyway, he actually gave this to me, which is a screenshot from his new game, which is called Monster Molecules. And this is a limited edition picture by Andrew. It says on the back, 19 of 20. So I was very lucky, actually, to get almost the last one that he had. And yeah, it's actually signed by Andrew. So I wasn't looking for that. He just gave it to me. Like I said, very nice guy. And I'd like to talk to him again in the future. It's a pity that at the event I couldn't catch up with him. But you know what it's like at these things. You don't want to be running after people and hounding them. They've got lots and lots of people who want to talk to them. So I don't like to monopolize people. So we had a nice chat. And yeah, hopefully I'll chat with Andrew again in the future. Who knows? Maybe one day we can interview him for the channel if he's interested. So yeah, that was the picture from Andrew Braybrook. And then there's, in the spirit of Steve Jobs, one more thing. And you'll recognize this, I would imagine. It's heavier than I remember. It's the Commodore 1541 disk drive. And why do I need a Commodore 1541 disk drive? Well, I owned one of these, and as I'm sure many did back in the day. And this has so many fond memories for me. My one, unfortunately, is long gone. I had to sell mine to get an Amiga 500. But this was the device that really catapulted my Commodore 64 forward into, you know, a real computer. And it also unlocked all of the sort of games which came over from the Apple II, of which there were many that were ported to the Commodore. And those were the first games where you could actually save your game. And typical of that would be something like Ultima 3, where you could actually play a game that was consistent from session to session, which I just didn't have before. I think I did save some games with you know, adventure games. I would save it to tape, but it was just so difficult to do it that I didn't really bother most of the time. But with a disk drive, all of a sudden you could have those, you know, gaming sessions that spanned weeks rather than just a few minutes. And at the Kickstart event, the last Kickstart event, I saw one of these. It was in pretty sorry condition, but I thought, you know, I could repair it. And I think it cost £40. It was on offer for £40, and I thought that was an absolute steal. I put it aside, and unfortunately, I didn't actually go to the vendor and buy it immediately. And when I went back for it later, it was gone. So that was a bit disappointing to, you know, see that opportunity lost. But if you remember when we walked into the show, there was that stall on the right-hand side, just by the main hall's door. Well, as I walked in, I looked through the devices there, and there was an Amiga 4000 for sale for £2,000. I won't be buying one of those. But right next to it was this underneath a pile of stuff. So I said to the vendor, how much do you want for this? And he wanted £40, which I thought was remarkable. So there was somebody out there who actually wanted me to have a 1541 drive. Apparently it's in working condition. It's got a few scuffs on the top. It looks like they're from a power cable. You know, unfortunately, that was the fate of a lot of devices. You put the power cable on top, and then that would then burn the outer case. But I'll do a little bit of renovation on this. I'll just clean it up a bit. But he told me it was working, so maybe it needs to have Jiffy DOS installed. He didn't tell me if it had a Jiffy DOS ROM. But that's something, a little future project, which we can get to down the line. So what did I think about Zzap Live? I really enjoyed the event, actually. I thought it was pretty good. A bit further to drive this time, you know, 1.5 hours. But I must say, I thought Kenilworth was nice as well. Kenilworth has a castle. Just down the road, there's also Warwick, which has a big castle as well. There's a nice garden, I think, near Kenilworth. So you could probably go there and go to one of these events if they're held there in the future. And then the following day, you could then travel around the area and have a little bit of tourist action as well. So that made it definitely worth the trip. I think the price for entry was pretty good. They had quite a lot of machines there. Well, you know, they had a huge amount of Commodore machines, all those Commodore 64s, the Minis, the PlayStations, you know, the Vectrex. And they had those people from back in the day, Jeff Minter, Andrew Braybrook, Stoo, Cambridge, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, John Hare couldn't actually make it for the day. I understand that something came up at the last minute, which meant he couldn't attend, which is unfortunate, so I hope he's okay. But there was interesting things going on around this. You know, the Archer MacLean Commodore 64 was really nice, quite poignant to see that there. You know, I'm sure Archer's much missed by those who knew him. I've got a small connection to him in that in the early 2000s, I actually did some work for Argonaut. And Argonaut was his company as far as I recall. Didn't actually meet him at the time. There's a producer that I actually knew from a previous job, and they were looking for some particle effects, at which I was very proficient at that point. And I got a small job working on something for Argonaut, which is pretty cool. Quite a nice little game credit, that. So yeah, I think Zzap Live was pretty cool, and if there was another one in the future, I would go to it. I did find it quite tiring. I set off from home at 7 o'clock in the morning to get there. I wanted to get there as close as I could to 10 so that I didn't miss anything. And I did actually book a room in the hotel, which is I wasn't going to do. I was actually going to drive back the same evening. And I'm really glad I did that, because it just would have been too exhausting to then you know, stay quite. I mean, the Jeff Minter light synth session actually finished at 11:30. So yeah, it would have been pretty bad to then drive for 2 hours back home. Might have actually been dangerous. So yeah, I'm glad I did that. Anyway, this video has gone on long enough, and I don't want to detain you any further. I hope you enjoyed it, and you know what's coming next? If you did enjoy it, please click on the like button. Give that like button a donk. And please let other people know that you like this video. And if you've never watched our videos before, then please click on the subscribe button. And it's not really worth doing that unless you're also going to click on the bell. And the bell will then give you notifications when we have any new videos released. So yeah, as I said, I hope you enjoyed this video. And please do come back soon to watch future videos. But until then, take care.